You're watching Zoo Tours, the channel that takes you on a virtual field trip to the zoo. Welcome everyone to the one and only Bronx Zoo, without a doubt one of America's top 3 wildlife attractions. Now our tour group will be picking up exactly where we left off, at the Asia Gate, home to the world famous Jungle World, what many call the greatest of its kind you'll find in the States. Jungle World's exit immediately encourages you to get in line for the Wild Asia Monorail, and I'll get into its history as we move along. I forgot to mention in my Bronx Zoo intro video, the monorail is also an add-on experience and does require extra admission, but it is free on certain days. If you visit in the peak of summer, you might be waiting around 20 minutes in line. In the meantime, you can watch a video that breaks down your ride experience. And once you get to the front, you will be assigned a seat. Now just hope that you're one of the first ones to enter the cab, because that front row will fill up fast. So now with all of that taken care of, welcome aboard the Wild Asia Monorail. My name is Zach, and I'll be your guide driver for the day. Now for your safety, I ask that everyone remain on their phone, television, or however you're watching this, and there is no trolling, and if you haven't done so already, please hit those like, sub, and bell buttons so you can officially be a part of this tour group. Ladies and gents, right now we are crossing over the Bronx River that provides a habitat for fish, ducks, turtles, and you if you lean too far over the railing. As we are rounding this bend over the river, we are going to be entering this very large meadow. We will look out for 3 types of deer species and 1 antelope. By the fence line and near the peacocks, the Barasingha deer. They get their name because in the Hindi language it means 12 tines, referencing the males who have 12 or even up to 20 tines on their antlers. Just below our eye level and closer to us is a Bactrian deer, a subspecies of the red deer. Not a whole lot is known about them, but we do know that the Bactrian deer do not like to migrate, but they still might go out and search for a desert at night when it's a lot cooler. It looks like one of the antelope did migrate to the back of this meadow, so that means we're going to see them in a few minutes. Asia is the largest continent and is known for its deer species and deer diversity, so here's one of our keepers to tell you about them. Hi, my name is Jack. I'm part of the Wild Asia Keeper team. We call this area Kanha Meadow, where we care for about 40 Barasinghas, 15 axis deer, 10 Blackbuck, and a pair of Muntjac. We start our day by checking on all the animals and making sure that they're healthy, behaving normally, and are safe. Sometimes, fawns and calves are born overnight. Newborns are given a neonatal exam, which includes weighing them, vaccinating them, and tagging them for identification purposes. While the animals are in the meadow, we prepare for nighttime holding areas so that they have a safe and clean space to spend the night. Back to you, Zach. Thanks, Jack. As we all know, when an animal goes extinct, it no longer exists. The next animal we'll see was on the verge of extinction. In fact, they were extinct in nature, meaning you can only find them in human care. I'm talking about the Mongolian, or Przewalski's wild horse. As you can maybe tell, they do look a little different from domestic horses. They have a much stockier build, shorter legs, and they don't have those bangs that go over domestic horses' foreheads. They are the only true wild horse living today because they were never domesticated at any point in time. In order to save this species though, captive breeding started with a group of only 28 animals in 1901, and the Bronx Zoo received their first herd in 1902, and they have maintained that herd ever since. In our next exhibit, we're going to be on the lookout for a vulnerable species, the gaur, or Indian bison, the largest wild cattle in the world. An adult male can weigh up to 2,000 pounds, stand 6 feet tall, and 10 feet long. Males can defend themselves against any wild animal, including a tiger. So their biggest threat is habitat loss and disease they catch from domestic cattle. When the Bronx Zoo received 2 females and 1 male from the San Diego Zoo, it took a couple of introductions before everyone got along. After a bit of time, the 3 fully integrated into the herd that you see today. As we come around the corner, and as this fence line starts to die out, we are going to enter the tiger den. This big kitty that we'll be on the lookout for is the one that brought balance to the force. Or you may know him as Anakin. The Bronx Zoo keeps 2 species, Malayan, and the one that you're about to see is the Siberian or Amur tiger. Tigers have stripes that provide them with excellent camouflage, so they're often difficult to spot. They're so secretive that even professional researchers have trouble finding them. Tigers are solitary, which is why it's very common to see one on exhibit at zoos at a time. Now that means Anakin likes being alone, and he doesn't need any friends or the Jedi Council. Tigers hunt a variety of animals, but they prefer wild pigs and medium-sized deer. Typically, they gorge themselves with 40 pounds of meat at one time after a kill. That's equivalent to 160 hamburgers in one sitting. After a meal of that size, the tiger will not eat again for several days. After getting one more look at the backside of the Gower pen, we're going to be entering the back of that first meadow. You saw Barasinghas and Bactrian deer, but we didn't see the axis deer, a species that's been here since 1899. The very small antelope nearby are the Blackbuck. They're one of the more obvious of the sexually dimorphic animals, meaning the males and females are different looking from each other. The females lack any kind of horn and are tan, while males have corkscrew horns and live up to the name with their black coating. This next one, I imagine, is pretty hard to get a good look at. Seriously, I don't know how guests are supposed to see them with all of that bamboo. But if you do happen to see a pig that has upper tusks that goes through the top of its snout and curves backwards, you just found the babirusa, which means pig deer in its native range. Now, as a reminder, please stay seated, stay on your phone or TV, because you do not want to disturb our Asian elephant. Her name is Happy, and she's over 50 years old. An Asian elephant can weigh as much as 10,000 pounds, so that means they have to eat a lot of vegetation. Happy, even though she's on the smaller side, can eat up to 200 pounds a day and drink 60 gallons of water. As the train moves closer to her, take a look at her trunk. It's an incredible tool, and she uses it to reach leaves high in the air and bring down strong branches. Their trunk has more than 40,000 muscles, which, as you might have guessed, is more than the entire human body alone. If you see something that appears to be armor-plated, has a horn near the front of their snout, and weighs in at about 3,500 pounds, you have found an Indian rhinoceros. This is Priya and her son Patrick. They're in this mud wallow not just because they like it, because they have to. Their skin is roughly 2 inches thick, but is still very sensitive to such things like insects and sunburn, and this cool mud protects them from both. All rhinos are threatened in some way. 4,000 Indian rhinos remain in the wild. Here at the Bronx Zoo, we care for 5 of them. Caring for them is one thing, but breeding is a huge task. 14 have been born at the Bronx Zoo. Now think about this, moms. Females are pregnant for 16 months, and after that wonderful year and a half, you end up giving birth to a baby that's 150 pounds. Inside, shocker, another large meadow. First up is the sambar deer, Asia's largest deer, standing at 5 feet tall at the shoulder and 650 pounds. One of the females that was born here was actually raised by one of the keepers, so that means she's used to human interaction. Once in a while, she'll come up to the train and greet us by sticking her tongue out. Past these large rocks, you might see something kind of small and kind of chubby. The hog deer. They get the name because they're heavy and short like a hog, and they move like them too, by running low to the ground, creeping and ducking under obstacles, rather than leaping over them unlike their larger deer cousins. All the way in the back, we have an antelope that looks like it has white socks. The nilgai is the largest antelope in Asia, and they can run 30 miles per hour, which is much faster than the monorail, which goes 7.5 miles per hour downhill. Coming up is another one that's not really easy to spot. China's tufted deer. They are very small, weighing less than 40 pounds. They get their name because of the tuft that sits on top of their foreheads. The males have a darker coat compared to the females. Not only that, the boys have long canine teeth that look like fangs, giving them their second name, the vampire deer. Right now, we are passing over the Bronx River for a second time, but this time we are 35 feet over the water. And as we move along at the speed of light, we'll see the riverway turn into mountainous, rocky terrain, the perfect environment for 2 wild goat species, the Himalayan tahr and the markhor. The female markhor's horns can grow 10 inches in length, The males, however, can grow 5 feet and are spiral in shape. Markhor means snake eater, and legend has it that one of them ate a snake, and that snake tried to escape through the Markhor's head, split in two, and turned into stone. The taurs, which are a very rare species in American zoos, have horns that are triangular in shape, curve backwards and then inwards, and they use those to protect their heads from serious injuries during head-butting battles during the mating season. Lastly, just to the right of this V-shaped tree, you aren't just going to look out, but you're going to look down, and you will see a red panda. When you hear red panda, you might be mistaken to think that they are related to the giant panda. They're actually thought to be related to skunks, raccoons, and weasels, although they do share their love of bamboo. As we move around the bank once again, that means our monorail adventure will come to an end. We appreciate you joining us on the Bengali Express monorail. We hope that you learned something today, and we ask that you please stay tuned, stay wild, and thank you all for watching Zoo Tours.